Welcome to Trial Site News Weekly Roundup. My name is Adrian, and I'll be going over some of our top news stories from this past week. Please click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of future videos. This week we start our roundup with clinical trials. Jacob Bell with Biopharma Dive interviews Merck and Pfizer executives to get a better understanding of their clinical investigator site selection process for oncology clinical trials. The interview probed how various cancer and tumor types would impact site selection. Bell then proceeded to determine if either Merck or Pfizer had preferences for institution for either Phase 1 early stage or later stage Phase 3 clinical trials. The Biopharma Dive author next probed competition. Would the executives share how competition may get in the way of an institution working with a particular industry sponsor? The topic of equity and the underrepresented then emerged, which is a hot topic today where not enough minority or underrepresented patients are participating in clinical trials. The author ended with an inquiry into how these giant sponsors keep in consistent communication with their sites in what can often be a part of a large global clinical trial. And we'll keep you posted on the story as it develops. Elsewhere, another biotech has moved to Baltimore to be near the University of Maryland and Biopark in the heart of the city, which was the backdrop for the critically acclaimed show The Wire. The latest venture, Kalo Site, leaves St. Louis, Missouri and heads east for Baltimore, which quite possibly is one of the most fascinating cities in America today, and increasingly home to a thriving biotech industry. Baltimore takes advantage of location near several government research powerhouses, including National Institute of Health. Meanwhile, Richmond University Medical Center has named Jaki Patwari, MD, CCRC, CPI, FAPCR, as the Administrative Director for the Office of Clinical Research. He will now be responsible for day-to-day operations of clinical research activities at the medical center. He will also oversee the information and operation of the new Institutional Review Board, or the IRB, for the hospital. Elsewhere in clinical trial-related news, LMC Manna Research positions itself as the largest network of fully owned and integrated clinical research sites in Canada, offering Phase 1 through 4 clinical trial services. They recently issued a press release announcing 2 new locations in Ottawa and London, Ontario. Now, LMC prides itself on bringing the research as a care option to patients by embedding and integrating research within its clinics and associated physician practices, a model coined as Integrated Research Organization. The 2 clinics add to the commercial clinical investigational site network's patients' reach, as they both are located in some of Canada's larger, more diverse cities, and sponsors and CROs can access critical geographical areas in primary care and NASH or NAFLD, not to mention a site network that touts single source contracting, unified standard operating procedures, and so much more. Elsewhere in clinical trial-related news, Kaiser Permanente Washington Health Research Institute onboarded its Executive Director Chief, Dr. Rita Mangione-Smith, recently. She will also serve Kaiser Permanente Washington as Vice President for Research and Healthcare Innovation. Now, Dr. Mangione-Smith has most recently been an investigator at Seattle Children's Research Institute and Chief of the Division of General Pediatrics and Hospital Medicine at the University of Washington. She was recently interviewed about the forces that influenced her perspective serving as a leading scientist and researcher in pediatric quality improvement. Trial Site News showcases KPWHRI, a prominent research center in the Pacific Northwest, and we'll keep you posted on this story as it continues to develop. Now, continuing along with clinical trial-related news. HCA Healthcare is America's largest health system, as measured by net patient revenue of nearly $50 billion. Headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee, they manage 185 hospitals and 119 freestanding surgery centers, including surgery centers, freestanding ERs, urgent care centers, and physician clinics in the United States and United Kingdom. Now, overall, it manages 1,800 sites of care. Publicly traded, the company ranks 67th in terms of largest corporations in America. By 2018, HCA had 50 hospitals and 31 surgery centers in Florida. In Texas, it had 53 hospitals by 2018, and in Tennessee, it operated 13 hospitals by 2019. The HCA employs over 38,000 active medical staff. By 2010, Sarah Cannon Research Institute became the clinical trials research arm of HCA. Impressive stuff. Turning now to robotics-related news. Robocath, a company that designs, develops, and commercializes cardiovascular robotic systems for the treatment of vascular diseases, today announces the success of its first 2 coronary angioplasties performed with assistance from its R1 robotic platform. The procedures were performed in France at Rouen Hospital by Professor Durand and Professor Sabatier at Clinique Pasteur in Toulouse by Dr. Fachadet. The procedures were performed at Rouen Hospital and Clinique Pasteur in Toulouse, France, and precede the first clinical study of its kind to be conducted in Europe. Turning now to SiteWatch related news. Novartis is having a rough time lately. They have denied a request from the Belgian federal government to make the most expensive drug in the world, Zolgensma, at $2 million, available to a Belgian toddler named Pia, who suffers from spinal muscular atrophy. Now, despite crowdfunding success from her parents, and despite the fundraising, the Swiss drug makers denied the 9-month-old access to the drug. Belgian Federal Minister Maggie de Block made a plea to the company to remain human. The company denied anyway, not being open to a compassionate use scenario. And now we turn to lung disease-related news. Bayer will invest over $30 million, spanning 5 years, to research and develop new treatments for chronic lung disease, as well as a joint lab to broaden Bayer's presence in the Boston biotech ecosystem. Perhaps one of the richest of life science ecosystems world. Now, Bayer will join with Partners Healthcare founding members Brigham and Women's Hospital, or the BWH, and Massachusetts General Hospital, or the MGH, to launch the new lab hosting scientists from all 3 parties. And now we turn to autoimmune-related stories. GlaxoSmithKline and China Primary Healthcare Foundation have joined forces to help launch China's first patient assistance program offering drug availability for patients in need with systemic lupus erythematosus, a smart move from the venerable Anglo drug giant. And now for a smallpox-related story. Bavarian Nordic announced that the U.S. FDA has approved Jynneos, smallpox and monkeypox vaccine live non-replicating MVA-BN, liquid frozen, for the prevention of smallpox and monkeypox disease in adults 18 years of age and older, determined to be at high risk for smallpox or monkeypox infection. With this approval, Jynneos is the only approved non-replicating smallpox vaccine in the U.S. and the only approved monkeypox vaccine anywhere in the world. And now for a neurodegenerative story. Investigators at the Stanford University School of Medicine have found, in both mouse brain models and human brain cultures, that Alzheimer's disease, Huntington's disease, and amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or Lou Gehrig's disease, share a common mode of damaging brain cells. We've identified a potential new way to reduce nerve cell death in a number of diseases characterized by such losses, was quoted Daria Mockley-Rosen, PhD, professor of chemical and systems biology at Stanford. This body of research work could lead to new and exciting therapeutic pursuits, and we'll keep an eye on this story as it continues to develop. And now for cancer-related news stories. The Morristown Medical Center, part of the Atlantic Health System, recently opened its Breakthrough Treatment Center, highlighting that the movement for clinical research as a care option isn't in the future but is now. With the rapid pace of clinical development, advanced investigational products aren't the last resort but rather become an imminent option at the clinic. The Breakthrough Treatment Center includes a partnership with Translational Genomics Research Institute, or TGen, an affiliate of City of Hope, and innovative biotech investor Origin Commercial Ventures, which will bring some of the most innovative and exciting new cancer treatment options to this part of New Jersey. Elsewhere, the FLAURA study has assessed the efficacy and safety of AstraZeneca's osimertinib versus a standard of care epidermal growth factor receptor tyrosine kinase inhibitor in patients with locally advanced non-small cell lung cancer, or the NSCLC. Median overall survival, or OS, was improved by 6.8 months with osimertinib as a first-line treatment for patients with metastatic EGFR mutant and NSCLC compared with erlotinib or gefitinib, despite crossover between arms, according to updated data from the Phase 3 study presented recently at the 2019 ESMO Congress. Do you have any clinical news you'd like us to report on? If so, let us know. Contact information is in the box below. If you'd like to watch more videos, click on the playlist that'll appear to my right. Thank you for joining us for this week's Trial Site News Roundup. And remember, subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of updates. We'll see you next time.